It's Super Bowl Sunday. I'm talking football with a former NFL quarterback and exploring the possibility of the Jets moving back to Queens. The Point starts right now. Up first, former NFL quarterback Jay Fiedler. Jay runs football camps, clinics, and training throughout his PrimeTime football programs, and will be launching the PrimeTime Flag Football League in Long Island this spring. Jay, thank you for joining me. You know, this is the biggest day in sports. What does Super Bowl Sunday mean to you?
Yeah, it certainly is the biggest day in sports. I think the whole world is watching Super Bowl Sunday. For me, as a former player, you know, it's the culmination of a year long of really just putting your heart and soul into a season, working with teammates throughout the year, grinding it out through the season and finding out who the top team in the whole world is going to be this Sunday. And, you know, these two teams is a great matchup. I'm looking forward to it. Well,
some people are calling this the matchup of the ages because these are two #1 seeded teams. They both scored, they both won 14 games, both scored the same exact amount of points coming into this game. What do you think this means? Is this as good as it gets?
This is about as good a matchup as you're going to find. Certainly the top two teams all year long from the AFC and the NFC, Kansas City Chiefs and the Philadelphia Eagles. Both high-powered offenses, but both offenses do it a little bit differently. The Chiefs a little bit more in the air with Patrick Mahomes, and the Eagles a little bit more on the ground. I think one of the things that's a little bit underestimated in this matchup is how good both defenses are as well.
Well, I want to talk to you. You know, as a former quarterback, I wonder, you know, how you look at this matchup. You have, you know, Patrick Mahomes, Jalen hurt. It's the first time two black quarterbacks have actually faced each other in a Super Bowl. How do you feel about it?
It's a tremendous testament to those two players in particular. You know, I think if you ask them, you know, they want to just be seen as you know, two of the top quarterbacks in the league. The fact that they're black quarterbacks and facing each other as two black quarterbacks for the first time, it's a tremendous accomplishment. I think you know, you've seen over the past decade or so a big emergence of a lot more highly talented black quarterbacks throughout the league. You know, some of the top paid players are black quarterbacks now in the NFL. And but I think if you ask them, they just want to be seen as two of the top quarterbacks. You know, I know when I played, I was a Jewish quarterback. I just wanted to be one of the best quarterbacks, not the best Jewish quarterback.
But how about Mahomes? He's playing in the third Super Bowl in 4 seasons, and he's won, he's lost. But if he wins this one, are we going to start comparing him to Tom Brady?
Well, I think Tom Brady is a little ways away. He did it for so long at such a high level, 7 Super Bowl rings. Mahomes certainly, you know, to start his career, one of the best starts of any quarterback of his career. But I think, you know, in comparisons, you kind of right now he's on par with a Ben Roethlisberger, who won a couple Super Bowls in his first 5 or 6 years in the league. A Troy Aikman, who won 3 Super Bowls in his first 5 or 6 years in the league too. But to do it for over 2 decades and win as many times as Tom Brady has, Patrick Mahomes got a little bit longer to go.
Well, how about the Kelsey Bowl? You've got little brother Travis against big brother Jason. Each one has already won a Super Bowl ring. Is that going to be exciting for you?
Well, I think it would be more exciting for Mr. and Mrs. Kelsey at home. You know, it's great. You know, I have an older brother who, you know, I competed against as well as competed with, you know, throughout the years growing up. And, you know, we always had great battles going against each other and a great family rivalry. And, you know, certainly I think the winner here between Jason and Travis is going to have some bragging rights for a long time.
So what about the coaching matchup? You've got Andy Reid, who used to be the Eagles coach, actually won a Super Bowl with the Eagles. Now he's with Kansas City, against Nick Sirianni, who I I was told by one of our sports experts that when he came to the Chiefs, he actually fired Nick Sirianni. So how about that coaching matchup?
Yeah, Nick Sirianni started his career, his NFL career, with the Kansas City Chiefs, and when Andy Reid came in and brought his staff, he got rid of all the existing coaches that were there, including Nick Sirianni. So, it's a great matchup. I think last year in the Super Bowl, you saw two of the young hot coaches in the league, Zach Taylor and Sean McVay, go against each other. Sean McVay coming out as the victor. This year, you got the young guy Nick Sirianni against the veteran coach and Andy Reid. Aside from Bill Belichick, Andy Reid is the most accomplished head coach in the NFL today. So, he's done it for a long time. Nick Sirianni, it's his first time, but these young coaches have been having a lot of success in the NFL over the past couple of years.
So, Jay, for an average viewer like myself, is there one player that I might never heard of who's going to become a household name after this game is over?
Well, I'll give you a couple. I think you're going to see the Philadelphia run game is going to be a prominent part of this matchup. And when you see the offensive line on the Philadelphia Eagles, they got one of the best in the league over the past decade to a couple decades, one of the best of all time, actually, on their offensive line. Two names there, aside from Jason Kelce at the center, Landon Dickerson and Lane Johnson. Lane Johnson has been one of the top tackles in the league for a few years now. I think you're going to hear his name a lot on Sunday.
How about Chiefs running back Isaiah Pacheco? He came from Rutgers. He's one of our guys. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, he's had a breakout year. Certainly made a name for himself this year to help balance the attack for the Kansas City Chiefs. Everyone knows about the passing attack that Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelce bring to the Kansas City Chiefs. But when they want to mix it up and get in the run game, Isaiah Pacheco is their go-to guy right now, and he's a ball of fire. He runs hard. He's a fun player to watch, and being from Rutgers, certainly all the people in New York will be pulling for him.
What's your all-time favorite Super Bowl memory?
There are a few that come to mind. Growing up watching the Super Bowls, I think, for me, I grew up a Jets fan. Unfortunately, I wasn't old enough to witness the '69 Super Bowl with Joe Namath. But as a New York fan, watching the Giants win against Buffalo 20-19 back in the '86 season, that was certainly a highlight for me.
So what about the defense? I know I've done some research, and I found out that the Eagles have led the league in sacks of quarterbacks with 70. Kansas City had 55. Is that going to be a factor in this game?
Well, I think that's going to be a big factor. Whoever wins the matchup at the line of scrimmage, I think, is going to end up controlling this game. Certainly the Eagles have been attacking the passer all season long, and especially in the playoffs. They've gotten it done. They've gotten to the quarterback a number of times. Hassan Reddick, is leading the charge at that defensive line position with the pass rush, and they're going to put a lot of pressure on Patrick Mahomes, and they're going to see if his ankle truly is healed by this Sunday. So,
Jay, here's a $64,000 question. What's your prediction?
I'm going to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. I'll say Eagles 27, Chiefs 24. I think it's going to be a tight game. I think it's going to be a close matchup, but I think in the end, the Eagles' run game is going to control the ball, keep it out of Patrick Mahomes' hands just long enough to hold out with the win.
So finally, the most important question, what's your favorite Super Bowl treat, Super Bowl snack, or dish?
There are so many. Obviously, the pizza and wings come to mind, but I think my favorite Super Bowl snack and dish is probably a nice hot bowl of chili with some tortilla chips. But
I'm
this
with
week,
you.
obviously, with Philly and KC, I think you can't go wrong with some cheesesteaks and some barbecue ribs.
I'm coming to your house, Jay. Anyway, we'll be right back with more. Thank you so much for joining me.